Kaliya was a demon. But Krishna didn't kill Kaliya. The pastimes that we heard, parts 1, 2, and 3, Krishna did a few things. Krishna climbed up a Kadamba tree, and from a branch of the Kadamba tree jumped into the river Yamuna, right into that lake. And with his arms, he started splashing and making big waves. And when Kaliya, by his nature, was very envious, he was thinking, who is coming to my lake? So he confronted Krishna. They're a very nice painting. Gigantic, 1,000 hoods, looking really big, and then there's a 6-year-old boy, and Krishna's looking at him, smiling. It's a nice painting. So Kaliya, with his many hoods, started to strike the body of Krishna. He bit Krishna's chest, little 6-year-old boy, and to kill him. That was his plan. So Krishna did a little battle, and Krishna purposely lost the battle, and he got in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. And the cowherd boys are by the side of the river Jamuna looking at their savior Krishna as in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. Another astonishment, rasa. It's stimulating rasa. That's what Krishna was doing. And then some person from the shore of the river quickly ran back all the way to Nandagram and informed Nanda and Yashoda, come quickly, Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. Another astonishment. It's a nice rasa. And so they came running, but Balaram was with them, and Balaram didn't let them, because they were going to enter the river Jamuna and die, give up, sacrifice their life to save Krishna. Mothers and fathers do things like that. But Balaram stopped them because he's Bala. He's very strong. That was one of his roles. And he knew Krishna just having fun. Nothing to worry. But they were more than worried. They were beside themselves with fear and horror and dread and all these other secondary emotions. Transcendental emotions. It's transcendental because Krishna is at the center. Makes it transcendental. Wasn't the ordinary kind. Transcendental kind. So for a long time, Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent. And when he saw the distress crescendo in the residents of Vrindavan, seeing their beloved Krishna in this condition, what did he do? He has mystic powers. He made himself really big. Kaliya made himself big. He made himself bigger and bigger and bigger. And serpents have a way of being able to expand their bodies. And then all of a sudden real small, and he slipped out. And when he slipped out, he used his strength, because he has strength too. And he climbed up on the hoods. The way it's described, on the shoulders. He held onto the shoulders so he could get onto the hoods and started dancing. He wanted to make sure that the young girls understood how he is the best of dancers. And he danced and he danced and he danced. But when he danced, he also became very heavy. So as he became very heavy, his feet were smashing the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. So from time to time, the Kaliya serpent would raise a hood and try to bite him. And Krishna would smash him. Another hood, Krishna would smash him and smash him and smash him until his whole body his mouths were bleeding from being smashed so many times. And then finally a little light went on. This isn't just a little boy. This is the personality of Godhead. And he didn't have an ability to speak, but in his heart, Krishna knew, he surrendered to Krishna. And that's where we ended. But it's not over yet, because Kaliya was very busy with many wives. They were also serpents. But the wives, although they were serpents of this terrible personality, they were just the opposite. We'll hear, because this class is the beginning of their prayers. So this is part 4. The prayers of the wives of the Kaliya serpent. So here's one prayer by Rupa Goswami, and a series of prayers, and Ashta, 8 prayers. And if technology worked, we're going to hear somebody over here, probably Shri Shatarupa singing. You can follow along, but allow her to lead, and then you can follow.
Kamam damodara mama mana annagapina bhogo.
One more time.
Kamam damodara mama mana annagapina bhogo. Dushtasidi kutilavanalai shobhayatyesha lokam.
Pause. Now.
Dushtasidi kutilavanalai shobhayatyesha lokam. Tadvikrantastvam-udita-pada dvandva-pankeruhankam.
Tadvikrantastvam udita-pada dvandva-pankeruhankam.
Kurvantarvikara-damanahe tandave dandayami.
Kurvantarvikara-damanahe tandave dandayamam. O Lord Krishna, with its crooked motions means when a snake moves from point A to point B, it doesn't go in a straight line. Snakes go back and forth and wiggle back and forth. With its crooked motions and the sharp fangs of its wicked desires, the great snake of my mind torments the entire world. Oh, all-powerful Lord. Oh, crusher of Kaliya. Please punish that snake, his mind, with your dancing. Please place on it, that's his mind, the mark of your lotus feet. Very beautiful poetry. Very nice meter. So Krishna accepts the prayers of the Nagapatni. So they, in group, they came forward and they began offering prayers. They held in their hand lotus flowers to offer to Krishna. And here's Sridhar Swami's commentary. Who's Sridhar Swami? Sridhar Swami is one of the first and one of the finest commentators on the Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly honored his commentary. So here's a little summary. 6 verses. The wives express their agreement with the punishment, like what you've done is proper. It's just punishment for all of his bad activities. In 10 verses, they offer obeisances to Lord Hari. In 5 more verses, the wives submit their prayerful request. Basically, let him live. He's now your devotee. He's our protector, and we require his protection, so please spare him and release him. Let him go back to where he came from. But he'll leave the river Jamuna and the purpose will be fulfilled. So the theme, mercy in the guise of punishment. So looks like punishment. Sridhar Swami writes, first, trying to pacify the Lord by acknowledging the correctness of his giving punishment, they offered prayers in the verse beginning, Nyaya. So this doesn't have the verse, but it's a summary of the meaning. You give this just punishment. You're giving this just punishment is for our ultimate benefit. The punishment this offender has been subjected to is certainly just. After all, you have incarnated within this world to curb down the envious and cruel persons. So they're acknowledging the cruelty and the enviousness, particularly, of Kaliya. You are so impartial that you look equally upon your enemies and your sons. For when you impose a punishment on a living being, you know it to be for Kaliya's ultimate benefit. A lot of interesting artwork from different art styles. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, though your real purpose is distribution of prema bhakti, that is accomplished with the punishment, the punishing of the wicked. In other words, he, Krishna, brought Kaliya from the position of being vicious and sinful and wicked to the point of prema bhakti by dancing on his hoods. His punishment is proper because he committed sins against Garuda, against the living entities in the Jamuna and in Vrindavan, and thus against you. Because you give just punishment, you have appeared to punish the afflictors of the devotees. Now, certainly, those persons that couldn't go into that part of the river Jamuna, as dear as the Jamuna is to the resident of Vrindavan, you are inflicting misery on the residents of Vrindavan, your devotees, so you're just to punish him. You've also come to give mercy to the devotees. If you did not appear there, if you did not appear, there would be no punishment for the evil or mercy for the devotees. You are equal towards the enemies and sons. Thus, though you punish the wicked, you do not hate them. Now, something in the first line speaks of the sins committed by Kaliya to Garuda, which leads to chapter 17. How Kaliya got all the way from Ramanaka Lake to the river Jamuna. And I'll give a super mini summary. Ramanaka Lake is a place where there were many serpents. And one of the foods for a serpent is snakes. They have other foods, but that's one of their favorites. And so there was a peace made by the snakes that lived in Ramanaka Lake to Garuda. And it was basically, we'll make an offering. You don't have to come hunt us down. We'll make an offering, and then the offering will be yours. Just leave us alone. So Garuda accepted. Except Kali was envious, and he went and took the offerings meant for Garuda. When Garuda came to know Ooh, Garuda was angry. And Garuda started pursuing Kaliya. And Kaliya was fleeing here and fleeing there. And Kaliya was given a message. There's a nice place you can go where Garuda won't go. Where's that? The river Jamuna. Because, the history is, there was a sage that was doing meditation underwater. Now, some persons who are, some type of meditation is suspending the life airs. Like, you inhale, it's not just like you hold your breath, but you suspend life air. Not just your lungs, you suspend life air. And so, he was suspending his life air underwater, no cheating. However, there was a problem. And the problem was that Garuda also likes fish. So Garuda came and was snatching fish from the river Jamuna. And so the sage said to Garuda, if you come here again, you're going to die. No, you can't curse Garuda. He's Lord Vishnu's carrier, but Garuda accepted because it was a sage. So he accepted. So he didn't go, Garuda didn't go back to that place in the river Jamuna. So Kaliya was told, go to that place because Garuda won't go there and you won't be harassed. So zoom, off he went. And he stayed there for a long time, made it his new home. Instead of Ramanaka Lake, it became home number 2. People sometimes move. So, for a long, long, long time, the poison, because he was very envious, he had accumulation of much, much, much more poison. So that's the reference. His punishment is proper because he committed sins against Garuda. He took offerings that were meant for Garuda, etc. So such an offender is to be punished. So punishment is just fine. It's appropriate. You give results which cure the wicked of their nature by giving them hellish punishment and then giving them eternal happiness, which is hint. That's what's Krishna is going to do for their husband. Next verse. Since it's for our ultimate welfare, punishment is nothing but your mercy. What you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give certainly drives away Kaliya's contamination. Now, we were faithfully married to this wicked person. We're wives, so we remain faithful to our husband, knowing he's wicked. But you came along and you relieved him of that wickedness by dancing under the hoods. So, the punishment was appropriate, and thank you very much. You gave our husband mercy, and by doing so, you've given us mercy. So thank you very much. Our husband is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent. Your anger towards him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. And Brihat Bhagavatamrita speaks about this pastime also. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. There's probably some newer people here, and you don't know what that book is. So a little background of what that book is. Brihat Bhagavatamrita has 2 parts, and both of those 2 parts, in essence, it's a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's really interesting and really creative and lots of deep understanding. So in one section, it's Sanatana Goswami wrote the book, commentary on Bhagavatam. Then he wrote a commentary on the book. And the BBT has translated and published it. So if you want, you can read the book someday. Only rare souls like Garuda can have the honor of being the Supreme Lord's carrier. So Garuda, is very special personality in the entourage of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the punishment which eradicated the sinfulness due to that birth is indeed mercy, even though it appears to be a manifestation of anger. Again, that's Sridhar Swami commentary. And this painting is showing one of the descriptions. In the section of his dancing, he was holding the tail of the Kaliya serpent. He had many hoods, but he had one tail. So he's holding onto the tail and dancing very elegantly. And then you see the wives of the Kaliya serpent offering Krishna flowers. Srila Madhvacharya points out in this connection that when a pious person suffers in this world, he realizes the punishment the Supreme Lord is meting out to me is actually his causeless mercy. BBT purport says, BBT purport means it is no longer Srila Prabhupada's purports because he ended a few chapters earlier. He left this world. And then from that point forward, including this section and onwards, it's the disciples of, or not Srila Prabhupada, therefore BBT. Envious persons, however, even after being punished by the Lord for their purification, continue to envy him and be resentful. And this attitude is the reason for their continued failure to understand the absolute truth. You show mercy to us because punishment of the wicked uproots their bad desires completely. That is directly experienced by us, taking away the offensive snake body of Kaliya, who identified with his body is seen here by his surrender and by the appearance of intelligence, because that happens. Appearance of intelligence comes after surrender, not the other way. Even after your display of anger, clearly the cause of punishment was mercy. Sanatana Goswami comments, taking away his sins is not punishment. You remained in his coils. Then you danced in joy on his hoods, apparently in anger. But the dancing was the purification. The being in his coils was also giving some preliminary purification. Just the touch of the personality of Godhead brings purification. The touch of the deity, or the touch of the paraphernalia, or the touch of the lamp that's been offered to the deity, or the smell of the flower that's been offered to the deity. That's just that touch is purifying. So preliminary purification. There's a nice little illustration of Krishna's on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent and wives offering their prayers. Now, this particular painting shows them as having lady forms. Most of the paintings show the upper part of their body as a lady form and the lower part of their body as a serpent form. Text 35. Did our husband carefully perform austerities in a previous life? What was the cause for your causeless mercy? It's causeless. There isn't a cause. I am not pleased with wealth or with tapas. Krishna may have responded. Regular tapas does not invoke Krishna's mercy in any way. Perhaps he performed these austerities with his mind, free of pride and full of respect for others. This sort of austerity can be performed only by Vaishnavas. Yeah, this is a more common type of painting of what the wives of the Kaliya serpent looked like. The upper parts of their body being like human, and the lower parts of the body being like serpents. Is that why you are pleased with him? Krishna will decline. Or did he carefully execute religious duties? Mercy towards all entities does not arise in the heart of the karmi, and such dry execution of religious duties doesn't invoke Krishna's mercy in this way. So what did he do? What brought this mercy? Our husband must have performed that dharma which shows mercy to others, and which is performed only by a Vaishnava. Did he execute dharma with compassion for all living beings? Is that why you're now satisfied with him? This rising of good fortune, of mercy given to Kaliya was not from tapas or dharma. It was just Krishna's inconceivable mercy. It is inexplicable. It's just the power of his mercy. This is expressed in 3 verses, which we've just discussed, 36, 37, 38. So here's 36. This mercy is the unparalleled opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. There's the Sanskrit of the verse. We do not know how the serpent Kaliya has attained this great opportunity of being touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows. Seeing the sweetness of Krishna, Lakshmi, who resides on Vishnu's chest, became greedy and performed austerities, but did not attain him. But she gained the boon of getting a type of residence on Krishna's chest as a golden line. You're all familiar with this. In case you're not familiar with this reference, the goddess of fortune, there's specifically described that she saw the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Particularly, she saw the rasa dance, and she thought, wow, let me participate in rasa dance with Krishna. But she had Aishwarya Bhav, the mood of awe and veneration, considering the opulence of Narayana. And the opulence of Narayana mood doesn't have a place in rasa dance. That is to say, the madhurya, or the sweetness of Krishna's pastime to Vrindavan, is so strong that eclipses the opulence feature. But she was just absorbed in the opulence feature, and austerities doesn't take that away. She just became more so and more so and more so. And so she was not entitled to enter into the rasa dance. Goddess of fortune, undergoing austerities? What's that? To attain the shelter of Krishna and his pastimes in Vrindavan. So instead, she became this Shivatsa, this golden line or golden hair on the chest of Krishna. So he has the goddess of fortune with him in that manner. The supreme goddess Mahalakshmi, this is Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the same book I mentioned. The supreme goddess Mahalakshmi is the eternal beloved of the Lord of Vaikuntha. That's Narayana. She does not have to worship him to achieve him, but her expansions descend as avatars to accompany the various incarnations of Narayana. And some of these avatars of Mahalakshmi, such as the daughter of Bhrigu Muni, are described in Vedic scriptures as performing penances to obtain the Lord as their husband. Clarification. It's in one sense is a detail, in another sense is an important detail, more than a detail, important principle. So she, just as Krishna expands, in various avatar forms. The Mahalakshmi of Vaikuntha, she can also expand. She does also expand. And when she expands, she becomes the consort of one of the features of the personality of Godhead. In this case, the one that's mentioned is the daughter Bhrigu. And then they undergo austerities to attain the Lord as their husband. In the world, as if they were embodied souls. They're not embodied souls, but as if they underwent austerities to get the personality of Godhead as their husband, but he's already their husband eternally. Though one may say the cause of Kaliya's qualification was association with his devotee wives, because we'll hear as we go forward, they're really elevated ladies. They're not ordinary ladies by any way. And living in the Jamuna within Vrindavan, living in the Jamuna is not raised as a qualification because he, Kaliya, offended the river. So when the wives of the Kaliya serpent are guessing what was the cause of the mercy given to our husband, Krishna may reply, you say that being touched by the dust of my feet is unparalleled mercy. What great result will a person get by attaining the dust of my feet? It's a rhetorical question. The Nagapatnis reply, no, you cannot say this. The result is greater than anything else. Krishna, what is it? Answered in the next verse, 37. There's the verse. Those who have attained the dust of your lotus feet never hanker for the kingship of heaven, limitless sovereignty, the position of Brahma, or rulership over the earth. They are not interested even in the perfections of yoga or in liberation itself. Apunar bhavam. They don't see again the cycle of repeated birth and death. Apunar bhavam. Or yoga siddhis. Or rulership over the earth. Or the position of Brahma. They don't have any of these desires. If they don't have that's the benefit of getting the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna. This very same message, this particular verse, 37, is very similar to, or almost identical with, the Sanskrit is almost identical with, a verse from Canto 6. And the verse of Canto 6, it's Vritrasura, pictured here on the left side with the red beard and the trident, and he's letting Indra have it with his trident. And on his left hand, Indra threw his club to smash Vritrasura, and he caught the club and took the club and smashed his elephant. Look, his elephant is bleeding at the mouth and falling over backwards. And in his other hand, Indra has his thunderbolt weapon. So, Vritrasura, do you all know the story of Vritrasura? Anybody would like to hear the story of Vritrasura? Okay, so a few hands. Before he was Vritrasura, he was a king. And the king's name was Chitraketu. And so it's a long narration, but Chitraketu had an obsession. He wanted a son, but queen number one had no son. So he married another queen, and married another queen. He married a lot of queens. You know how many queens he married? What's the number? 10 million queens. Really? Could you say that again? 10 million queens. For one purpose, he wanted a son. And it was, boo-hoo, I have no son. So one sage came to his home and said, you look really sad, what's the problem? No son. So, I can make some arrangement that you can have a son, And there's this special fruit. If you take the fruit and give it to one of your queens, she'll have a son. But your son will be both the source of misery and happiness. In fact, I'll give him a name now. Harshashoka. Well, and so he thought, well, better son that, he may talk back or not be obedient or something, but better to have that kind of a son than no son at all. So he had so many queens, but he gave the mango to his favorite queen. Kritadyuti, that was her name, if I remember correctly. Kritadyuti. And sure enough, she had a son. And it was great, except for the 999,999 queens that didn't have a son. And they were envious, because the king was doting on the son and Kritadyuti. So you know what they did? They decided, let's poison the son. So they did. And he died. And one morning when the king came to greet his son, he found him dead. And his wife was screaming, and he was screaming. Right at that time, Narada Muni showed up. He has this uncanny ability, at the right time, to just pop in and say the right things and understand the whole situation. So he saw the scene. And so Narada said, Harshashoka, can't you see your father in such distress because you've left? Come back and encourage your father so he'll be happy again. The boy sat up. He came back from the dead. But he didn't look at his father, didn't look at his mother, just looked at Narada and said, why'd you bring me back here? Who's my mother and father? How many mothers and fathers have I had? Which is the real mother and father? I was with my eternal father, and you brought me back here. See you later. You laid back down. That was it. And somehow or another, Chitraketu got it. It wasn't meant to be. He couldn't accept what was meant to be. Sometimes there's a certain kind of destiny there's no way to change it. There's some destinies that they can be changed. There's Sanskrit terms for all of this, but some can't be changed. So he then decided, you know what? I'm going to strive for elevated consciousness instead of having a son. That seems to be what Krishna wants of me. So that's what he did. And he became very, very elevated, so much elevated that he became the king of Vidyadhara Loka. What's Vidyadhara Loka? It's one of those, there's this earthly realm, Bhuloka, Bhuvar Loka, and Swarga Loka. So it's in between. Vidyadhara Loka is in that region where Kinnaras and Charanas and Vidyadharas and Apsaras and those kind of living entities where they reside. So he was the king. And that thing happened. One time he was paying a visit to a friend. He became such an elevated person that Lord Shiva became a friend. And when he visited Kailash and he saw that Parvati was on his lap in a public assembly in front of many other sages, he made a compliment. Hey, Lord Shiva, who could do this but you? And Parvati took it was an insult. You're insulting my husband? You become a demon. That's a nice section of the Bhagavatam. We were discussing it at the temple. So he became a demon. And that demon, this was on the screen here, Vitrasura. but he had the consciousness of a pure devotee. And his consciousness of a pure devotee Hare Krishna. His consciousness as a pure devotee was, he was giving lessons, spiritual lessons to Indra, the king of heaven. He was such an elevated devotee. His behavior was that of a demon, because that's what he was supposed to do. So that's what he did. But his consciousness was, so similarly, the queens, or the wives of the Kaliya serpent, they're very elevated. Very elevated. Somehow they ended up being wives of the Kaliya serpent, but very elevated. So this verse that we just looked at, here's the verse. That's the exact Sanskrit, except for the last line, is the same as Vritrasura speaks. This is 10th canto. This is 6th canto, chapter 11. But, the personality of Godhead is achieved by getting the dust of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. And one who achieves that has only spiritual interest and no longer material interest, just the dust of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead. So in the end, Vritrasura says, Indra, stop whining and complaining. Use your thunderbolt weapon and cut my head off. And then I can go back to, pure devotion and end with this curse of Parvati. So that's what happened. Similar commentary on this verse. There are many glorifications of the touch of the dust of your lotus feet. The great effect of even a little surrender to your feet is inconceivable. Or Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Those surrendered to the dust of your feet indicates profound surrender, showing persons with a super excellent type of bhakti. So there's a nice painting, Krishna showing his feet to a cow. She looks pretty interested in his feet. The other cows, they want some grass. And this cow wants Krishna's feet. Next verse. Kaliya attained the unattainable. Oh, Lord. Although this Kaliya has taken birth in the mode of ignorance and is controlled by anger, he has achieved that which is difficult for others to achieve. Embodied souls who are full of desires and are thus wandering in the cycle of birth and death can have all benedictions manifested before their eyes simply by receiving the dust of your lotus feet. A lot of commentary on hearing about the dust of Krishna's feet, isn't it? Although we conditioned souls, this is the BBT commentary for this verse. We conditioned souls may not receive the mercy of having the Lord dance on our head. We can receive the dust of the lotus feet of the Absolute through the Lord's representative, the bona fide spiritual master. So that's our option. If you can't get his feet, you can get the pure devotee and get mercy from the pure devotee. That's the equivalent of the dust of his feet. By thinking of those feet, everyone can immediately attain all perfections. Though one identifies with the body, one can attain material wealth, one can attain spiritual powers, or one can attain prema. Therefore, now this snake, whose hoods have accepted your lotus feet, should attain special prema. They're making this forecast. Our husband is fated for prema. Now, the next two verses, or the next set of verses, having praised the Lord's mercy in 6 verses, the Naga Patnis bow down again and again 11 times in the next 10 verses. So guess what? That's next week. No, tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow. We're ending part 1. But look it, here's another song. Same source.
Namastubhyam Bhagavate Purushaya Mahatmane Bhutavasaya Bhutaya Paraya Paramatmane.
One more time.
We offer our obeisances
No,
unto
excuse me.
you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the present in the hearts of all living beings as the Super Soul. You're all pervasive. Although the original shelter of all created material elements, you exist prior to their creation. And although the cause of everything, you're transcendental to all material cause and effect, being the Supreme Soul.
So this is also Rupa Goswami's prayers to the Kaliya serpent, but it's like in the mood of the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Here's a little explanation, Sanatana Goswami's explanation of the verse. I offer respects to the Lord who controls all, Paraya, who inspires everything, Paramatmane. By the order of the Lord, all are engaged in action, but not being touched by the faults of persons engaged, he dispenses punishment, etc., in an astonishing way. Or Paraya can mean the person who is situated separately from all others and who is in the hearts of all beings. Purushaya Mahatmane, though he is the Lord, Purushaya, he spreads everywhere. Purushaya. Bhutavasaya Bhutaya. Though he is the controller of all jivas, he appears in the form of the jiva. Or he lives amongst the people and takes birth. Jayati Janani Vaso Devaki Nanda Devaki Janma Vado. Krishna lives eternally among the cowherd men and the Yadavas, and is conclusively both the son of Devaki and Yashoda. How's that? He has 2 mothers. Wait a minute. Who has 2 mothers? Well, it's a pastime. It's a foster mother and his mother. This is a verse from Canto 10, Chapter 90. Here's another verse. Look at this.
Jnana Vidyana Nidhaye Brahmane Nanta Shaktaye Agunaya Vikaraya Namaste Prakritaya Cha.
Obeisances unto you, the Absolute Truth, who are the reservoir of all transcendental consciousness and potency, and the possessor of unlimited energies. Although completely free of material qualities and transformations, you are the prime mover of material nature.
Well, we'll carry on. In this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Krishna, he who danced on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent, he is described as the object of the Gyanis. We offer our respects as the goal of the Gyanis to he who is the reservoir of all knowledge and the Chit Shakti, or Jnana Vijnana Nidhi, just as the ocean is the reservoir of all gems. Isn't it nice? Our Sanskrit poetry, Sanskrit and the poets that are commenting on Srimad Bhagavatam they find so many ways to appreciate the verses of Shukadev Goswami or the verses of composers of Sanskrit poetry, and they're enjoying with Krishna very nicely. So I think we're going to end, because what I'd like to do from experience, there's generally lots of questions. Now Naperville is abundant with questions, and the room looks pretty packed. Our hostess, you have a lot of friends. There's some regulars here, but there's some friends of yours here too. So anyone would like to discuss any point, raise a question? Yeah.
Thank you. It was very hearing Kaliya's story. We've never realized it's so deep, and you really opened it for us. And in one commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna's first wave of mercy comes in the form of tormenting suffering, and his second wave of mercy comes in the form of sweet bhakti rasa.
Come in the form of?
Sweet bhakti rasa. And there's one slide in here which you had said that there's suffering, something along that lines, and then there's devotion. So I was just remembering that comment.
Where's the comment from? It says something with the sound system that's weird. I can hear myself 5 times and I can hardly hear you at all.
That commentary is from section.
Shh.
It reads.
Not like
Not working. You got a good voice.
That's from the section of Bhishmadev and the Pandavas, and where Bhishmadev is reflecting on why the Pandavas went through so many tribulations, though they were such great devotees. So then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur sort of reflects in general that, why is it that great devotees go through difficulty? And he says Krishna's first wave of mercy
comes in the form of tormenting distress, but his second
Torment and distress.
tormenting distress, yes.
Torment and distress. Welcome, everybody. Especially you newer devotees. It's Krishna's mercy. And then second?
And then his second wave of mercy is in the form of sweet bhakti rasa. Sweet
bhakti rasa.
Yes. And then he says, then finally Krishna gives his very self to the devotee.
We got to go through some torment and some sweet before we get there. Okay. So Canto 1, Chapter 9? And Bhishma Dev is pondering, why is it that the Pandavas are so exalted that they had to go through such difficulties? There's some sections of Mahabharata that are like that we'll be discussing during the weekend, the seminar over the weekend. They're really nice. and and Krishna orchestrates all of it, because the difficulties of the Pandavas was before, during, and after. I mean, the after is when Krishna left, they were devastated. When Krishna was present, they had their difficulties. Just echoing what you just, this reference from Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur on Monday morning, during our seminar, because it's a national holiday on Monday, but I have this Monday morning class with the Chinese devotees, and the topic is the Pandavas. And there's a lot of difficulty they endured, this and that, and then the other, and then it just kept happening. Okay. Anyone else? Yes. Can we give her the microphone?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for explaining about Kaliya-daman pastime. It was really enlivening. Actually, we did perform for Janmashtami, last Janmashtami, Kaliya-damana.
Really?
Yeah.
For Krishna Janmashtami?
Yeah, we performed. But it's not, I tried a lot, because I know Krishna danced on the hoods of the serpent. It is slippery. It's not like a straight line. You can dance there everywhere. I was like, I tried on the oil. No. I tried on a powder. No. I thought, okay, I will give up. I just wanted to dance on the clean floor. But now when you're talking about slippery hoods and everything, I could understand. It is so hard to dance. I did Shiva Tandavam, but Kaliya-damana, slippery floor? Like, I don't know. It is so good when you're explaining me, like, yeah, and by the dust of lotus feet of Krishna, the Kaliya got liberated. And even the Nagapatnis, they got to serve Krishna by prayers. So I feel like they're so fortunate. I feel like, though I'm presenting Krishna's dance and everything, will I ever get that mercy from Krishna so that I'll be also liberated?
Well, it sounds like you did. Mercy means you feel Krishna's presence. You're just hearing your narration. That's what I was feeling, that you were feeling Krishna's presence. Now, the mercy is that remembrance. Let me ask you a question. Were you dancing in Krishna Janmashtami? You were Krishna dancing in the hoods of the Kaliya serpent during Janmashtami festival.
Maharaj. Indra was the Kaliya and I was Krishna.
Okay. How was your dancing? How did it go? Wasn't like Krishna's, I bet.
I was praying to Krishna before I performed.
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to show the pastime to the best of my ability. So I was praying before the performance.
Well, one of the nice things, there's some nice artwork that illustrate when Kaliya would raise one of his hoods. At least this particular illustration shows, he wanted to bite. So Krishna with both feet, bam! And, he's the heaviest of the heavy. So he smashed his hoods, and his dancing was elegant, at the same time, fully like a ton of bricks, every time he delicately danced. And then smash and smash, and blood coming out of his mouth. No, that's a pretty special kind of a dance.
Nobody can dance.
Nobody can dance like that. Lord Shiva is a really good dancer, but Krishna's the dance instructor.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Maharaj.
Anyone else would like? They're way in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hey, it works. Good.
Maharaj, when a newer devotee tries to practice Krishna consciousness and when they try to surrender to Krishna, their natural traits, like some devotees are angry by nature or they're too emotional by nature. So these traits can cause a great impediment in the path of bhakti.
Yes.
So how can one balance these traits
How
and
can one
work
do-
around
how-
them?
Say it again. How can one do what?
Balance
No,
these traits?
you don't balance. I have an allergy to the word balance. As soon as I heard the word balance, I kind of sneeze or something. Achoo. Because you connect we're going to hear this nice teaching, but you connect those tendencies in an authorized way to serve Krishna. One can't be engaged in service to Krishna. That's envy. The six? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Those six, right? So the first five of the six can be. So, for example, anger. Two classic examples. Arjun, Krishna induced, Prabhupada explains, Krishna induced Arjun to be angry. Because you can't fight without being angry. But then angry for Krishna. Because Krishna said, so he did. Or Hanuman. He was angry. Look what Ravana did, and he wanted to teach Ravana a lesson, so he burned the whole of Lanka. In anger. So that's transcendental anger. There's a place for anger when it's for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not otherwise, etc. We can go through the list, but each of the other five or each of the other four have their place they can be engaged in purifying. So provided it's aligned with the satisfaction of Krishna, and one can also say under the guidance of a teacher, with the bhakti teachings. But envy there's no place for it. So then what do you do about envy? That's a good question. If you can't dovetail it, what can you do? Yeah, it requires purification. Well, the good news is there's a way to purify, but it's not just redirect it, it's purify it, become freed from. So that's one of our topics. It's a major showcase of the topic that I'm going to be speaking about this weekend. You hit my button. That's our topic. You going to be around this weekend?
Yes, Maharaj.
Oh, please come. We're going to, in not all in one dose, but little pieces and little pieces. It's if you want to look it up ahead of time, it's chapter 29 of Canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev's teachings to Devahuti on your topic. But so envy can be purified, but you have to follow the prescription. Just like a medicine, you can't just go into a drug shop and I'd like some medicine. You take anything according to the prescription. You take it. And it cures the disease. The doctor knows which medicines to use.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
Maharaj, I just want to say that I'm really excited about your upcoming seminar.
Me
and
too.
how you've been building up to it with your classes already on respect. And something I notice as I hear from you is how subtly these messages of respect and Vaishnava etiquette are sprinkled throughout our literatures. And so today you gave the example of the way Kaliya accepted a very unjust curse of a sage, and the nuance and the subtlety of how he was being so respectful versus, that was Garuda, versus Kaliya, who took the offerings of Garuda.
Yeah.
So,
Nasty.
yes. So it just seems that these messages of respect are so beautifully intertwined, and all the histories that you narrate. And I'm just really, really excited about
There's a lot.
what's coming up.
There's a lot in our scriptures. It's not just Mahabharata and Ramayana and Srimad Bhagavatam. It's many, many places. It's a consistent lesson. Okay.
And a question.
More, something else.
Maharaj.
Okay.
So we are invited to perform our devotional activities with love, and we're encouraged. And yet it seems love can be a stimulus for Krishna to bestow his mercy, and it attracts Krishna's attention, but it's not the cause. So our entering into this spirit or field of love as we're performing devotional service is still not the cause. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Of bhakti?
Yeah. The question that was being asked here, which is the question you're bringing up again, it's very nicely discussed, elaborately discussed in Madhurya Kandamani. How does bhakti begin? That's the question, and it's like several pages long. Some say this, some say that, some say the other thing. And the conclusion that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reaches is Krishna gives power of attorney to the Madhyama Bhakta. Madhyama means preacher. To A and B. I give you the power of attorney to give me, through the medium of devotional service, through the medium of bhakti, to those who are innocent. So there's details, but those who are so Madhyama, that's us. We're according to scripture, we're to see the supreme for these four categories: the devotee, the innocent, and the demon. Those who are overtly inimical and hostile towards Krishna. There's a certain behavior in relation to those people. Just stay clear. Innocent, give mercy. Devotees, befriend. Supreme Lord, worship. So different. The Madhyama is enjoined, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings, by the personality of God. You have a power of attorney. Here's the document. You have a power of attorney. You can give me to others through the medium of bhakti. Power of attorney to do that. And these are the persons who you should give it to. The innocent. And then you have certain behaviors that are appropriate with devotees and in relation to the Supreme Lord. Okay.
May I ask one last one, Maharaj?
Yeah.
So there was this section where it was described that Kaliya had the association of devotees who were his wives, and he lived in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
But living in Vrindavan was not the cause of his bhakti, because he was actually offensive. And so is that also true for the association of devotees,
Yes.
his wives,
Oh,
was not the
yes.
cause
Yes.
because of his envy in his heart.
Yes, one can have the association of Madhyama Bhakta and receive the seed of bhakti and then offend the Madhyama Bhakta. Or one can visit Vrindavan or reside in Vrindavan and make offenses to the Vrajvasis and the river Jamuna and this and that. For residual tendency. So one has to avoid, when you get some great favor, like Vaishnava Sangha, etc., avoid those kinds of things, because otherwise that's one of the explicit offenses. Offending devotees of the Lord is one of the core offenses. One of the 10 core offenses. So one has to very carefully guard against that. It's not like it's okay because I'm a devotee, I can offend whoever I like, and it's okay because I'm a devotee, and I get purified because I'm a devotee. That's offensive. Inadvertent, that's one thing. Deliberate is another thing. And then repeating, it means one is, the lights out. One hears and still does. And then hears again and one still does. One hears again and still does. That's offensive. It's no longer just a mistake that can be apologized for. It has consequences. You have something? Please.
From the Krishna's perspective, the mercy and the punishment. Sorry, Maharaj. Yeah, from the Krishna's perspective, the mercy that comes and then the punishment, both are like absolute. I mean, they are really mercy.
Yes.
But in the case of advanced devotees, they can take both of them as a mercy. But in the case of neophyte or new devotee, the result may be, or the impact or the experience of the devotee may be different, because one looks like
how they process the experience may be different, but the experience isn't necessarily different. I mean, just like this example of the Pandavas, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on why they but they went through tribulation to the max. Or Prahlad or Haridas Thakur, etc., so many examples. But how they processed it was different.
Second question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Generally, we hear that somebody is very envious; they get a body of a snake. In the case of, Kaliya, we understand because it's causeless mercy of Krishna that he is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya.
Yeah.
But the wives of Kaliya, we don't hear anything. I didn't hear anything beyond.
Well, how Krishna acts with snakes is up to him. He's not always going to dance on hoods because somebody became a snake. But, he can give his mercy to whoever he likes.
I was thinking wives of Kaliya.
Oh, you want to know how they became exalted souls? That's your question? That's your question? Oh, I don't have the answer. But one can intuitively, logically, they had some good association somewhere. Now, what that good association was and for, how long it was, and there's not I don't know of anything by our acharyas that give the answer to that question. And I've looked, but I haven't been able to find it. But in principle, to have what they had, mercy from a Vaishnava, from an exalted devotee, that's how one becomes an exalted devotee. And they're exalted devotees. When you hear the rest of their prayers, they're really elevated ladies. So what's an elevated lady doing with person like Kaliya anyway. He's their husband. They're once married like that, they're faithful to their husband and they're very happy. I mean, the end is he's our husband. Please don't kill him. His heads have been smashed so badly. If you continue dancing on his hoods, he's finished. So please stop. He's purified. He's surrendered. Let him return. He'll leave Vrindavan. He'll leave the Lake Jamuna River, and he'll be a good boy. Somewhere else. So Krishna acknowledged. So he sent him. And there's a nice painting. Off they go. Where they came from. And he won't take Garuda's stuff anymore. Garuda's offerings. That business is finished. The envy is finished. Finished. There's an answer to your question about envy. Have Krishna dance on your hoods. That's one option. That's pretty special though. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. This is a question from Varsana. So this question is based off the pastime that you spoke about, King Chitraketu, who was trying to have a son, tried million wives, etc. So one definitely best way is to accept Krishna's plan for us. Just accept it. And on the other hand,
I'm waiting for the but.
There are some devotees, even seasoned devotees, who take help of other branches of Shastra, like Jyotish Shastra or Vastu Shastra, to help them in the practice of their Krishna consciousness. So the question is, where do we draw the line between Yukta Vairagya, which is using everything that Krishna has endowed me with in service of Krishna, versus staying protected with this Krishna Eka Sharanam, albeit with a weak faith. I mean, I may not have the full faith that Krishna is my only shelter, but I've heard it, and I might be like 20% there, but still I stick with it. So how do we draw that line, and where do we draw that line?
Okay, I that's the main question. She's embellished with some other side questions, but the main question is that one. Prabhupada's, you know how Prabhupada would make things really simple? He would say, you may go fishing, but don't get wet. So, if you have the adhikar to engage in this or that or the other, without getting wet, without falling into the river of material existence, you can engage the material energy without becoming implicated in the material energy. If you have that acumen, that capacity, that spiritual potency, then okay. And otherwise, better to be safe than wet. So then don't indulge or don't take such risks. Here's a little example. I'm going to get the eye contact here. A little example is science and Krishna consciousness. There's a number of devotees at different times, at different places. Now there's a sangha, because I visit in Gainesville, so I'm aware of what goes on there. Astrophysics, this and that, PhDs and, stuff I can't even pronounce the names of what they have PhDs in. And they're experts. And they have devotee association. And they're under the authority of Prabhupada and then the GBC and then, this group of devotees to design the Vedic planetarium. Now, there was another devotee without mentioning names. There was another devotee that had that assignment, but he didn't have the qualification. I mean, he's a nice devotee. He came up with some nice ideas, but they don't always match what the Bhagavatam says. And he was a little stubborn. So now there's a team of 15 or so super qualified persons, and they're following behind the one that Prabhupada authorized, that Sadaputta. His teaching is like the North Star or something like that. And then they're aligning themselves along with their collective wisdom and what's on in academia, and they, in a collaborative way, they're coming up with a plan of what the Temple of Vedic Planetarium is going to look like for the rest of the world, because scholars from around the world are going to come and try to poke holes in what they see. That's academia. That's what they do. That's their, instead of playing basketball, they poke holes in other people's ideas and have a nice time doing it. So it has to hold up to that kind of scrutiny. So they're being really meticulous. And so without getting wet, without getting immersed in, something. And you can take, any artificial intelligence. It's a buzz. And should we, ask your wife, should we become proficient in that and, become a PhD in artificial intelligence and become a competitor for what's his name? Or whatever. Fish, but don't get wet. And better to be safe than sorry. And be in association of others that are on the right track along with you, and you're not just going to pat you on the back. They're going to, if you start to head for the ditch, they'll tap you on the shoulder and say, look out. I think you're deviating. Or something. A wholesome association is a good protection. So her question is, where do you draw the line? I'm saying where you can, your consciousness is fixed on Krishna, and it stays there over a period of time by whatever the means. And largely it's scripture and association and guidance of spiritual master. Those three. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm going to try to articulate my question.
Okay, I'll listen.
Thank you. So, this is regarding the topic of Vaishnava Aparad.
Okay.
So, when two people have friction and two Vaishnavas have disagreement and friction between them.
No.
So, but then somehow, whatever due to emotional upheaval, one of those Vaishnavas end up talking ill about the other to many others. So it's almost like a blasphemy.
Yes.
That's happening.
Yeah.
So my question is, how should the Vaishnava who is on the receiving end of all this process it? And second question is, what to do for a community or a group of people who are getting drawn into talking about a Vaishnava in ill manner?
Okay.
Or what to do? Okay.
Well, they're just to spread it out a little bit. There's one of those going on in ISKCON today over Vaishnavi Diksha Guru. I don't know if anybody here knows anything about it, but it's it's a volcanic eruption that's taking place right now. And there's this people and there's that people and this people say about that people and that people say about this people. And so it happens at different scales. And it's divisive. And anyway, aside from that topic, that doesn't seem to going to have a happy ending. One of the topics, 2 points. One of the topics that is discussed again and again and again and again by Kapila-dev, and then other references from the points that he makes in this chapter 29, on the main message is don't depart from respect. And how to not depart from respect includes seeing the soul and the Supreme Soul within the heart of oneself, and then as oneself within the hearts of others, plural. And on that basis, don't depart from respect. And when there's respect, then that requires, or it impels proper speech and conduct. We'll see it the other way. Without respect, then you're not going to have proper speech and conduct. So, therefore, that's the why, and then what to do. Help one another with respect for one another. Come to the position where there's respect for one another, but not just cosmetic respect, but fundamental spiritual respect. Fundamental spiritual respect. I mean, that's where the chapter 29 train is going. That's the end of that chapter 29, is Kapila-dev says something very, very clear about, the ideal. It's kind of like tying everything that he said in the whole chapter into a conclusion. And that is that he, the personality of Godhead, is pleased when people show these symptoms, and not pleased when they don't show these symptoms. And there's consequence for deviation from respect. And there's consequence for offering respect. How do you offer it? It depends. And there's a whole discussion. We'll go through it. Commensurate with one's position. Then respect should be extended. And then when with respect, this is a core, fundamental, spiritual respect. Then there's social considerations of respect. We'll go through all this, but the question you're asking is a core topic. It happens as long as there's individuals. We're all individuals, so there's going to be some differences. And how do we relate to differences? We can disrespect or we can respect. And then learning the art of this whole chapter is how I'll say, in negative, it kind of, Kapila-dev says it almost angry. That Kapila-dev is speaking in the first person singular to his mother, Devahuti, as the personality of Godhead. And he says, those who worship my form in the temple, so he's the personality of Godhead speaking, those who worship my deity form in the temple, but don't see my deity form in the hearts of other living entities, I consider that worship of my form of the deity in the temple to be imitation. It's not what real bhakti is. Or, there are different ways of saying this. He says the same thing 4 times. It's like 4 times. We'll go through this. But then he concludes then that the process of deity worship should be done in such a way by vidhis, following the vidhis of deity worship in such a way that one can see that same deity, the form of the Lord in one's heart and in the heart of others. Until then, just keep doing the vidhi sadhana bhakti properly, because otherwise it's imitation without respect of other living entities. And there's consequences for those that don't. And there's benefits for those that do. And that's, it all shakes out in the end. I'll end with this. I'd like, because of time, it's 8:15. I'd like to, David, I don't know what prompted him. I probably should ask him what prompted him. One of the devotees that I grew up with in the Hare Krishna movement was Devarita Swami. We served together for many, many, many years in the New York Temple. And he sent me a little reference. You're probably aware of this little reference. It was, Prabhupada was in New Zealand, and it was one of those situations where there were two sannyasis in his room. And the two sannyasis that were in his room were having a dispute with one another. No. Yes. Tushta Krishna was one of them, and Guru Kripa Swami was another. And I know Guru Kripa Swami. He's like this macho guy. Short, powerful, and powerful. Look out, here I come. I'm Guru Kripa Swami. Look out, here I come. But, he was at the same time very devoted to Prabhupada. I mean, that's my perception. That anyway, I'm editing what's not in this commentary. So Devarita Swami, sent me this. Prabhupada has the two in the room, and he's saying to these two, you two are not getting along. Why? Tushta Krishna said, envy. And the book that he was quoting, they looked at each other. They didn't say yes, they didn't say no. They remained silent, which means yes. And then Prabhupada said, something to the effect that this is natural when persons come together. However, where there's who is the one responsible for the envy, we'll see in course of time, because the one that's not responsible for the envy, he'll endure, and the one that isn't won't. Something like that. I'm looking at Sri Radhika because she's very familiar with these texts of Prabhupada's stories. So, you put something in the washing machine, or wash it and wash it and wash it, and where it's just dye that doesn't hold, it's going to wash out. It's going to fade, and it's gone. Tushta Krishna, left the Hare Krishna movement after some time, and Guru Kripa stayed on. And Guru Kripa not only stayed on, he did the Guru Kripa. He's like this short guy that's like really powerful and look out, here I come kind of guy. But he, very diligently served Prabhupada. He loved Prabhupada. Prabhupada loved him. Not to say Prabhupada didn't love Tushta Krishna Swami, but he was more on the envious side. And that caused his demise, because he wasn't properly respecting. Instead, the other was there. Problema. Mucho problema. That's maybe not the best topic to end on, but I think because of time, 8:15, 8:20. I'd like to end. Is that okay, Amrita Kelly? I can end? She wants to make an announcement. Give this lady a microphone.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Oh, you're going to make the announcement. I thought Amrita Kali is going to say, let's everybody please come to the seminar this weekend. You're going to say, please take the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yes. So we have this set of Chaitanya Charitamrita set here, which describes life and teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to spread chanting of the holy name. So we're asking, his appearance day is coming up on March 3rd. So we're asking, we brought the sets here. So whoever doesn't have them, we're asking you to invite these books home. These is like teachings of Lord Chaitanya, how to practice bhakti in our daily lives. And it's filled with sweet pastimes of how he dealt with his devotees, and he showed us how to be a devotee. So we're asking everybody, how many of you don't have the sets at home? If you can show your hand. How many of you have you don't have it? You have it. How many of you don't have it? Okay, so you can see me. We have some sets here. We're just asking some donations, and you can take these nice books home. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. As Guru Maharaj is mentioning, this respect, how it's the core, not only for living a just in spiritual culture, but even if we have to exist between one another, home, office, anywhere. So that's actually the core topic that we are going to discuss for 3 full days, Friday evening to Monday afternoon at ISKCON Naperville Temple. So we would like to warmly invite all of you to please come and join, participate in the discussion. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Just one comment. My topic is on respect, but Urmila is a co-speaker, and for her happiness, there's some overlap of what I'm going to be doing, what she's going to be speaking. But she has a very different topic, and she's a good speaker. She's a good speaker. She's a brilliant lady. I see a few ladies here, so you like her brilliance. And for many years, she was a Gurukul teacher. So bring the kids too, because she's good with kids. That's it. I'm going to be there. I like to hear her speak. Hare Krishna.